Now, the Trump administration is threatening to withhold $9 billion in funding to Harvard, one of America's most prestigious universities. The targeting of the institution comes after it cut $400 million from Columbia University. The administration accusing both campuses of anti-Semitism, this after fierce pro-Palestinian protests broke out last year. Harvard's president has spoken out, saying if this funding is stopped, it will halt life-saving research and hinder scientific research and innovation at the university. We can now bring in Lex Paulson, lecturer in public advocacy at Sciences Po in Paris. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. Why is the Trump administration doing this? I thought they were the defenders of free speech.
Oh, did you think they were the defenders of free speech? That's quite interesting. No, I think there's a game on the surface, and then there's a deeper game going on. The game on the surface, of course, is the culture war, fighting this quote-unquote anti-Semitism battle as part of their war against what they look at as the woke universities, all critics of Israel being anti-Semites, etc. That's the surface excuse for pulling this federal funding in with, of course, this federal funding relates to science and technology and nothing to do with politics of the Middle East. But the Trump administration wants you to believe that they're intricately related. But there's a deeper game going on, which is that universities have always represented an alternative base of power and innovation and resources in America, and the Trump administration is systematically destroying all threats to its base of power, whether that is from the judiciary, from journalism, or from universities. And so the deeper game is to make the universities as weak as the Trump administration can make them.
So what do you think these universities are going to do? Are they going to sit and conform, or are they going to stand up? Because let's be honest, Harvard has a huge endowment by itself.
Yeah, Harvard has $50 billion it's sitting on. If any university can survive 4 years of having its funding withheld from the federal government, it's Harvard. What you're seeing, however, is a different kind of university than existed a generation ago. A generation ago, around 40% of faculty positions were full-time tenured positions. So the whole basis of academic freedom in America are full-time tenured professors, meaning they cannot be fired on a whim, and their students, investigating big questions, criticizing power. That's the basis of academic freedom. Well, that number of 4 in 10 academic tenured positions is now down to 1 in 4, and around 7 in 10 are contingent positions. What does that mean? It means that the federal government, which funds around 40% of all basic R&D research in America, has enormous and increasing leverage on universities that it didn't have even 20, 30 years ago. So that means universities are weaker. The government is relatively stronger, but it does not excuse the universities from capitulating. As we've seen, the universities such as Brown, for example, the president of Brown, the presidents of Princeton, Georgetown, have been remarkably courageous in opposing publicly these actions by the Trump administration. So what I think the universities need to do is to unify and spend more time strategizing together and less time trying to figure out a capitulation strategy that will preserve their funding in the short term, which, as we know, is just a short-term solution. The Trump administration isn't interested in solving anti-Semitism. It's interested in weakening universities.
Because I want to talk about that point in itself, because we did see these pro-Palestinian protests which broke out across college campuses, not only in North America, but also here in Europe. Some in the Jewish community did not feel safe. But at the same time, if you go ahead and withhold funds from these universities, won't it end up coming back and hurting the Jewish community anyways?
The Jewish community, like all minority communities in any country, can only suffer from an atmosphere of suppression, of otherizing, saying that people who criticize the government are threats. This is exactly the same climate of fear that was present in Europe in the 1930s, and that is present today when you look at what Putin or Orban or Trump are doing to demagogue, in this case, those who criticize Israel on the basis of their actions in Gaza. So, no, this is not about making Jewish students feel more safe. Could universities do a better job of making their students feel safe? Absolutely. But that's the university's responsibility to create safe spaces not just for protest but for dialogue. And this is where universities have really failed, including Sciences Po, where I teach. If students see that the only way that they can protest injustice is to be in the street, they're going to go in the street. But if they see that there's another way that they can collaborate in dialogue with key decision makers in the universities, I think they're going to do that. So universities need to be more proactive and more creative in how this student energy, this criticism of what they see as injustice, is channeled in a positive direction.
Lex Paulson, I covered the protests at Sciences Po last year, and I remember speaking to some foreign students, and they were worried because French authorities took pictures of their ID cards. So they were worried about if they would be deported. But we haven't had any reports of foreign students being deported. But what we are seeing over in the United States, the green card holder at Columbia University, Mahmoud Khalil, has been picked up by ICE. A Turkish student at Tufts University picked up by ICE. This is a Fulbright scholar. We had a Columbia University student, a PhD student, who self-deported because ICE showed up at her doorstep in New York. I mean, how is the administration justifying this? These are people who are there legally in the United States.
Yeah, it's incredibly self-defeating. I mean, the advantage that free societies like America and France always had over closed societies like Russia or now Hungary or China is that bright, talented people want to go there and study and live and start businesses. This has been an incredible source of innovation, of discovery, of economic value for America and for Western Europe. People are literally dying to get to these countries, and to throw them out on the most flimsy pretexts of their political unreliability. Again, it reminds me very closely of the atmosphere of the 1930s, and Trump has made it clear that any of the principles of the rule of law, fairness, free speech is not interesting to him. It is not at all part of their calculation. They want to win a culture war to create their reality TV show, and this is just one step in that process.
Because America, for decades, has been, as you said, attracting the top talent. It is essentially a soft power tool. The fact that people go to the United States for higher education, you study there, you forge friendships there, some end up working, but taking their skills back home, what have you. Is that no longer a priority anymore? And are European institutions going to be capitalizing on this?
I mean, who's the man doing more to destroy the federal workforce right now? Elon Musk. Where was he born? South Africa. Where did he go to get his education? America. Where did he start his company and create his billions? America. So it's case in point that the Trump administration has no principles. What they have is a desire for power and a creative ability, I would say, to use principles to justify their position in the moment. When reducing federal power is what suits them, they're for reducing federal power. When raising federal power is what suits them, they're in favor of raising federal power. So this is not about any kind of question of principle. This is about purely a strongman approach to government. And right now, Donald Trump is winning.
So are institutions like Sciences Po going to lure in foreign students now?
I think so. I think Sciences Po especially is one of the institutions in France that has done the most over the last 10, 15 years to internationalize, to attract foreign teachers, to attract foreign students. I myself have seen over the last 10 years of teaching there an incredible development of the talent of the students have been attracted. So yes, I think as American universities suffer through this darkening period in American governance, I do think that other English-speaking universities, because English is the international language of science, whether that's in the UK, Ireland, Western Europe, Netherlands, Germany, are going to benefit.
Lex Paulson, thank you very much for joining us on the program today.
Pleasure to be with you.
In other